Breaking news. 8 U.S. states just shocked everyone by saying yes to November food stamps, while millions in other states are left wondering if their benefits will vanish overnight. Are you one of the lucky ones getting paid next week? Let's find out right now before it's too late. Before we start, listen carefully. This channel is made only for you. If you depend on Social Security, SSI, SSDI, VA, or SNAP benefits, then you finally have a place where the truth lives. While others spread rumors and lies just to get views, we stand with you. Every update, every dollar, every promise that affects your life. So, hit that subscribe button right now and join our family because here we fight for you. If you or someone you love depends on food stamps, also known as SNAP benefits, then you absolutely need to watch this video right now. There's something really important happening, and I want to break it down in a way that makes complete sense. We're going to talk about 8 states that just made a big promise to help people get their food stamps in November. And we're going to figure out exactly what this means for you. Do you think it's fair that regular people have to worry about whether they can feed their families because of decisions made by politicians in Washington? What would be a better way to handle this? Let me start by explaining what's really going on here, because the headlines you see on the internet can be confusing and sometimes scary. The truth is that the United States government has been dealing with some pretty serious funding problems. When the government doesn't pass its budget on time, something called a shutdown happens. Think of it like a family business that runs out of money and has to close its doors for a while because there's no money coming in to pay the workers or the bills. That's basically what happens with the government. When there's a shutdown, many important programs don't get the funding they need. And that includes SNAP, which is the program that helps millions of Americans buy food. If you were the governor of one of these states and you couldn't afford to give everyone full SNAP benefits, what would you prioritize helping people with first? Food banks, emergency payments, something else. Now, SNAP is actually super important for a lot of people in this country. We're talking about over 42 million Americans who depend on this program to feed their families every single month. That's about 1 out of every 8 people in the United States. These are people with jobs who don't make quite enough money, seniors on fixed incomes, families with kids, people with disabilities, and many others who are working hard but still need a little extra help to put food on the table. SNAP is a safety net that helps these people maintain their dignity and feed their families with real nutrition and real food. So here's where it gets tricky. When the government shut down, there was a really big question about whether people would get their SNAP benefits in November. The federal government couldn't guarantee the funding, which meant that millions of people started worrying about how they would buy groceries for their families. Imagine waking up one morning and not knowing if you're going to be able to buy milk, bread, and vegetables for your kids. That's the kind of stress that people were feeling, and it was a very real concern. But then something happened that gave a lot of people hope. 8 states stepped up and said they were going to help. They looked at the situation and said, "We're not going to let our residents suffer, and we're going to make sure that people can buy food in November, even if the federal government can't promise that money right now." This was a big deal because it meant that even with all the federal uncertainty, at least some people would know they could buy groceries for their families. Let's talk about which states we're talking about here. The states that have said yes to helping with November food stamps include Virginia, Connecticut, Delaware, Kentucky, Louisiana, South Carolina, Colorado, Minnesota, and some others. However, I need to be really honest with you about something important. These states aren't able to completely replace the entire federal SNAP program with their own money. That would cost billions and billions of dollars, and most state governments just don't have that kind of money sitting around. What these states are doing is creating emergency programs and using state funds to help support food banks and help some SNAP recipients. They're doing what they can to fill the gap. Think of it this way. Imagine you have a big hole in your roof and it starts raining. The federal government was supposed to send someone to fix the whole roof completely, but then they ran out of money and couldn't send anyone. So some states are like, well, we can't fix the entire roof ourselves, but we can bring you some buckets to catch the rain, and we can help you find a plumber who might be able to patch up the worst parts. It's not a perfect solution, but it's something, and it's better than nothing. Now, you might be wondering what this actually means for you or your family. If you're getting SNAP benefits, the first thing you need to understand is that the benefits that were already on your card from October don't disappear. The money that you didn't use in October carries over into November. Think of it like money in your bank account. If you don't spend it, it stays there. You don't lose it just because a new month started. So if you have any money left from previous months on your EBT card, that money is still yours to use. But here's what's really important. If the federal government's shutdown continues and new SNAP money isn't sent out for November, then new benefits might not show up on your card on the first of the month like they normally do. This is where it gets stressful for people because many families rely on getting that new money in November to buy groceries for the whole month. If it doesn't come on the first, it can be really hard for families who are living paycheck to paycheck. This is exactly why those 8 states decided to step in. They understood that their residents needed help, and they wanted to do something about it. Some states have set up special emergency programs. Some are working with food banks to make sure there's extra food available. Some are exploring ways to use state money to help bridge the gap. Different states are doing different things based on what they can afford and what resources they have available to them. Now let's talk about what you should do right now if you're worried about this situation. The most important thing is to check with your own state to see what they're doing. You might live in one of these 8 states, or you might live in a different state, and each state might have a slightly different plan. The best way to find out what's happening in your state is to go to your state's Department of Human Services website or call your local SNAP office. These are the people who actually run the program in your area, and they will have the most accurate information about what's happening with November benefits in your specific state. When you contact your state office, you can ask them straight up, are November benefits going to be issued? If so, when? Are there any emergency programs I should know about? Is there anything I need to do right now to make sure my benefits don't get interrupted? These are all really good questions, and the people at your state office should be able to answer them. They deal with this stuff every day, and they want people to get their benefits too. Here's another important thing to think about. Even if you live in one of the 8 states that's trying to help, you still want to make sure your SNAP application is current and up to date. Sometimes during confusing times like shutdowns, paperwork doesn't get processed the way it normally does. You want to make sure that all your information is correct and that your application is in good shape. If you've been thinking about applying for SNAP or if your benefits are about to expire, this might be a good time to get that done while things are still running, even if there's uncertainty about what happens next. I also want to mention something about food banks because they are becoming really important right now. Food banks are places where you can go and get free food. A lot of people don't realize how helpful food banks can be, and they sometimes feel shy about going there. But here's the truth. Food banks exist for exactly this kind of situation. They're designed to help people when there's a gap between their resources and their needs. If you're worried about November and you want to have some backup food, going to a food bank is a smart thing to do. You can search online for food banks in your area, or you can call 211, which is a helpline that can tell you where your nearest food bank is and what hours they're open. Let me also talk about some other resources that might help you. There are community assistance programs, religious organizations, and nonprofits all over the country that help people with food when they're struggling. Some of these organizations might have special programs they're running right now, specifically because of the shutdown situation. Again, searching online or calling 211 can help you find these resources. There's no shame in using these services. These programs exist because our society believes that everyone deserves to eat. Now, I want to address something that a lot of people are confused about. When we talk about these 8 states saying yes to November food stamps, what we're really talking about is these states trying to help their residents during a federal funding crisis. It's not that SNAP is going away forever, and it's not that the federal government has decided to end the program. It's a temporary situation caused by a budget crisis in Washington. These states are basically saying that even though Washington is having problems, we're going to try to help our residents get through this rough time. That's actually a really good thing because it shows that people at the state level care about their residents. The reason I'm explaining all of this is because I want you to understand that while this situation is serious and worth paying attention to, it's not something that should make you feel hopeless or scared. There are people working on this, including governors and state officials who are taking it seriously. There are food banks and community organizations ready to help. There are phone lines you can call and websites you can visit to get information. You're not alone in this, and there are resources available to you. Let me give you a quick action plan for what to do right now. First, as soon as you finish watching this video, visit your state's Department of Human Services website or search for your state's SNAP office. Write down their phone number and the website address. Second, either call them or go on their website and look for any announcements about November benefits. They should have clear information about what's happening. Third, if you're concerned about a gap in your benefits, start researching food banks and community resources in your area. Go ahead and call 211 to find out what's available. Fourth, make sure your SNAP application is up to date and that your personal information is correct. This is important because it helps make sure your benefits flow smoothly. Finally, I want to say this. If you're getting SNAP benefits, you should never feel ashamed about it. This program is there to help people, and there are millions of people using it right now. Teachers use it, nurses use it, veterans use it, seniors use it. People are working jobs and still using SNAP because wages haven't kept up with the cost of living. This is a normal part of our social safety net. And using it means you're taking care of yourself and your family. You're doing the right thing by making sure you understand what's happening and by taking action to protect yourself and your loved ones. The bottom line here is that 8 states have stepped up during a difficult time to help their residents. They're not able to completely solve the problem, but they're doing what they can. You need to take action by finding out what's happening in your specific state and making sure you have a plan in place. Check with your state office. Look into food banks and community resources and make sure your benefits are in good shape. This is a situation that needs your attention and your action, but it's also a situation where help is available if you know where to look for it. Remember, you deserve to eat and your family deserves to eat. That's not political. That's not controversial. That's just basic human dignity. So go ahead, check that information, make those phone calls, and take care of yourself. You've got this, and there are people and resources ready to help you.